If you're 62 or close to it, you're standing at one of the most uncomfortable crossroads in retirement, and almost no one explains it honestly. You've probably been told two completely opposite things. On one side, you hear, claim Social Security as early as possible before the system runs out. On the other, you hear, waiting is always smarter. Delaying maximizes your lifetime benefit. And here's the problem. Both sides use real data. Both sides sound confident. And both can be wrong, depending on how your retirement actually works. Because Social Security claiming isn't really a math problem. It's a risk timing problem. It's about when income shows up, how long your portfolio has to carry the load, and what happens if markets, health, or life don't cooperate in those early years. Most people who claim Social Security at 62 aren't making a mistake. They're responding to uncertainty. Uncertainty about markets, uncertainty about policy, and uncertainty about how much time they actually have. And most people who delay aren't optimizing. They're often trading flexibility today for a higher check later, without realizing what that trade actually costs them in the years that matter most. In this video, I'm not going to tell you to always wait or always claim early. That advice is too shallow to be useful. Every year, the Social Security Trust Fund publishes a report that details the financial health of the program. That report covers retirement benefits, disability income, and Medicare funding. Over time, those reports have shown a gradual weakening of long-term projections, with current estimates indicating that around 2033, the trust fund reserves may be depleted. At that point, ongoing payroll taxes would cover roughly 79% of scheduled benefits. That number, 79%, gets repeated endlessly online, usually without context. What it creates is urgency without understanding. People hear depletion and mentally translate it to collapse. But that's not how the system has ever worked historically, and it's not how it's likely to work going forward. Even today, payroll taxes continue to fund the majority of benefits. The shortfall exists because benefits exceed incoming payroll and interest earned on the trust fund's government bond holdings. That gap is being filled by drawing down reserves that were intentionally built up for this phase of the system's life cycle. What's important here is not just the numbers, but the pattern. We've been here before. In the 1970s, retirees faced a much more immediate crisis. Inflation was high, purchasing power was falling, and Social Security did not yet have automatic cost of living adjustments. Benefits were eroding every year. Congress responded in 1972 with a one-time 20% increase, and then in 1975 implemented automatic COLAs tied to inflation. That solved one problem but accelerated another by increasing long-term obligations. The system came under severe strain. By the early 1980s, projections showed that Social Security would be unable to meet payments within months. That's when the Greenspan Commission was formed under President Reagan. The changes that came out of that commission reshaped the modern Social Security system. Full retirement age was gradually increased, benefits became taxable above certain income thresholds, payroll taxes were raised, federal employees were brought into the system, interfund borrowing was authorized between Social Security and Medicare trust funds. None of these changes were popular. All of them were effective. The result was not collapse, but stabilization. Over time, the trust fund accumulated well over $1 trillion in reserves. The key point is this. When the system faced existential pressure before, lawmakers adjusted the rules. They didn't eliminate benefits. They didn't let retirees fend for themselves. They changed inputs and formulas. The situation today, while serious, is materially less severe than what existed in the late 1970s and early 1980s. That historical context matters because it reframes the fear that drives many claiming decisions. Now, here's where this connects directly to you. When people hear about future shortfalls, many feel compelled to claim benefits as soon as they're eligible at 62, believing that getting money now is better than risking future benefits. Sooner is the safest move. Others hear advisors say, delay as long as possible and feel irresponsible even considering early retirement. Both reactions miss the real question. The real question is not what's the maximum benefit on paper, it's what claiming strategy best supports income stability, flexibility, and peace of mind in my specific retirement. To answer that, you need to understand how claiming age actually affects benefits. If your full retirement age is 67, claiming at 62 results in a permanent reduction to about 70% of your full benefit. Each month you delay between 62 and 67 increases your benefit, roughly equating to about 7% per year. After full retirement age, delaying up to age 70 adds delayed retirement credits of about 8% per year, resulting in a benefit that's approximately 24% higher than your full retirement amount. Those numbers are often presented as a simple math problem. Wait longer, get more. But that framing ignores something critical. The benefit amount you lock in becomes the base on which cost of living adjustments are applied. If you claim earlier, your COLs apply to a smaller number. If you claim later, they apply to a larger one. However, COLs do not exist in isolation. Medicare Part B premiums are deducted directly from your Social Security benefit once you enroll, typically at age 65. Those premiums tend to rise over time, sometimes absorbing a meaningful portion of COL increases. The net benefit growth is often smaller than people expect. So the real trade-off is not just monthly income versus lifetime income, it's timing versus risk. Claiming earlier means guaranteed income arrives sooner, reducing the need to draw heavily from investment accounts in the early years of retirement. Delaying increases the eventual payment, but requires you to fund more years of living expenses from savings, often during a period when markets may be volatile and sequence of returns risk is highest. To make this real, let's look at an example using the same assumptions and data. Consider a married couple, both age 62, Thomas and Hannah. Based on their Social Security statements, Thomas's full retirement age benefit is projected at $3,500 per month, and Hannah's at $3,000 per month. If both claim at 62, Thomas receives approximately $2,450 per month, and Hannah about $2,100. That reduction feels painful on the surface, but it also means they receive income immediately, reducing portfolio withdrawals. If they delay to full retirement age or even to age 70, their monthly benefits increase substantially. When we model different claiming combinations, both at 62, both at 67, Thomas at 70 and Hannah earlier, or both at 70, we see lifetime benefit totals ranging from roughly $2.1 million on the low end to nearly $2.7 million on the high end, assuming average life expectancy and a 2.5% annual COLA. That $600,000 difference gets a lot of attention. But here's the part that often gets lost. To realize the higher lifetime total, Thomas and Hannah must live long enough to reach the break-even point. In this scenario, when comparing both claiming at 62 versus both delaying to 70, the break-even occurs around age 78. That means they need to live into their late 70s before delaying produces a net financial advantage. This is not an argument against delaying. It's an argument for understanding what you're trading. You're trading earlier income and flexibility for higher income later, and that trade only pays off if longevity cooperates. That's not pessimism, that's risk management. Now let's layer in one of the most misunderstood features of Social Security, survivor benefits. When one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse does not keep both benefits. They keep the higher of the two. This means the claiming decision of the higher earning spouse has a direct and lasting impact on the survivor's income. In our example, if Thomas delays his benefit until age 70, Hannah's survivor benefit could be approximately $87,000 per year with COLAs. If Thomas claims early, her survivor benefit drops dramatically, closer to $58,000 per year. That $30,000 annual difference persists for the rest of her life. Suddenly, the decision to delay is no longer about maximizing lifetime benefits. It's about ensuring the surviving spouse against financial vulnerability in later years. This is where simplistic advice breaks down. For some couples, a hybrid strategy makes sense. The higher earner delays to protect the survivor benefit, while the lower earner claims earlier to provide cash flow and reduce portfolio strain. This approach uses the same rules, the same math, but aligns them with human realities like health differences, age gaps, and tolerance for uncertainty. At this point, it should be clear that there is no universally correct claiming age. The optimal decision emerges only when Social Security is integrated into a full retirement plan. That means looking at other income sources, savings balances, tax considerations, and spending patterns. It also means acknowledging something that traditional planning often ignores. Spending is not flat across retirement. Numerous studies show that retiree spending tends to decline by about 1 to 1.5% per year after the early active years. Early retirement years are often the most expensive. Travel, hobbies, helping family, and simply enjoying freedom all cluster near the beginning. Those are also the years when portfolio risk is highest. Having guaranteed income earlier can act as a buffer, allowing investments more time to recover from downturns without forcing sales at unfavorable times. This is why claiming Social Security at 62 can sometimes preserve more wealth than delaying, not because the benefit is higher, but because the portfolio is stressed less. Vanguard and other institutions have shown that for certain households, early claiming reduces the probability of running out of money by stabilizing cash flow during vulnerable years. None of this negates the value of delaying benefits for those with strong longevity expectations, sufficient savings, and a desire to maximize survivor income. What it does is remove the moral judgment from the decision. Claiming early is not failure. Delaying is not virtue. They are tools. The final step is implementation. To make a confident decision, start by documenting expenses, not budgeting, just understanding. Separate essentials from discretionary spending. Then match guaranteed income sources, including Social Security at various claiming ages, against essential expenses. This shows you how much portfolio income is truly required. Next, build flexibility into the plan. Flexibility is the most underappreciated asset in retirement. The ability to adjust spending, delay a trip, work part-time, or change withdrawal sources dramatically reduces risk. Finally, coordinate withdrawals to manage taxes efficiently, filling lower tax brackets and allowing tax-advantaged accounts to compound. When you view Social Security through this lens, the anxiety fades. The decision becomes less about fear of missing out and more about designing a retirement that supports your life as it unfolds. The system is not perfect, it never has been, but it remains the single most reliable source of inflation-adjusted income most retirees will ever have. The question at 62 is not whether you should claim or wait in the abstract. It's whether your claiming strategy supports stability, flexibility, and peace of mind, now and later. And when you use the data correctly within the context of your full plan, that answer becomes far clearer than the headlines would have you believe.